watching Gearz.
You know, one of the best things about a 32 Ford Roadster is the fact that it's topless. Oh, this is great. However, one of the worst things about a 32 Ford Roadster is the fact that it's topless, especially if you drive the car a lot and live in an area where it rains. Now, there are aftermarket tops available, but unfortunately they're all the type that you have to disassemble or lift off and store somewhere, and that becomes a real pain real quick. Now, the original 32 Ford Roadster had a folding convertible top, and that's the way to go so you can enjoy the car no matter what the weather's doing. So we hooked up with our buddies at Superior Car Parts because they specialize in chopped, folding convertible tops for 32 Roadsters.
We're finding out that we're the only people in the world that we can find that are making true steel folding tops in the design of the original Ford, but adapted to fit in the hot rod world.
The first step is to assemble the sidearm assemblies and connect them to the windshield posts. Next comes the middle bow, which is made out of hardened oak. Now you simply fit it in place, then drill it, then mount it to the side pieces. With that done, it's on to the rear bow, which is a little more involved.
On an original Ford, the top actually went up.
Oh, yeah.
And then straight down, actually slanting forward toward the car.
That's goofy looking.
Right, that's antique car looking.
Yeah.
So now, because the top of this iron stops here, we can just keep going down and down and down and down.
Now the idea here is to set the rear bow to the height that looks good with the slope of the top to the windshield. A strip of masking tape is a good way to gauge just how the top is going to look. Since the Rat Roadster has a 3-inch chopped windshield, the rear bow is going to have to be cut and slightly modified so it'll sit low enough to look good. The last piece to go on is the front header, and you've got a top ready for upholstery. You know, that's got such a great rake to it. This is great though. You got headroom.
The primary distinction is that our tops fold as they were designed from the factory. They fold, they unhook from the windshield and fold to the back of the car and stay with you.
With the final assembly of the Rat Roadster underway, the one area that we still needed to address was the exhaust system. And since everything about the Rat Roadster exhaust is unique, we hooked up with our buddies at Cherry Bomb to lay out an exhaust system that would not only fit the look and the style of the car, but also have the sound that we're after.
You know, if we had room here, obviously we could run a pipe out of that hole. So that kind of changes things up a little bit.
But you can bend it tight enough to bring it down this direction, right?
Oh, definitely, definitely. Yeah, with mandrel bending, you can really tighten that radius up and bring them straight out.
How about mufflers? I mean, the glass pack would be awful cool.
Yeah, to me, a car like this, it's got to have glass packs on it.
You know, maybe something like this, or were you bringing the tubing out through there?
We could run through the hole here into that, or we can use a little bit shorter glass pack. This is like an 18-inch. Maybe go with a 12-inch. You know,
that thing up there.
To me, it just works perfect with this car.
Oh yeah. This obviously needs some support there. Have you got some sort of a rubber mount or something that you can support that, or would do it through the tubing? How would you?
Yeah, I would probably recommend we'll make a support here in the frame and maybe tie it into the header adapter coming off here.
Okay. And you got that flange there that you can work off of.
Yeah, we can work off that too. And we have some nice high temperature rubber grommets we can use to put in there to hold that on.
Blue ones?
Yeah, those are nice. So it definitely needs support because you'll crack your header welds up here if you don't.
All right, the exhaust system's laid out under the car. Let's take a look at it. The exhaust comes down through the header, and when the cutout is closed, the exhaust goes out the side, through the notches in the frame that we made earlier, and then it goes through the X-member and into 2 tiny little glass pack mufflers to give us the right rumble that we need. And then the exhaust continues up over the rear axle and ends up in 2 chrome slash-cut tips that are right under the frame rails for a nice, clean, stealthy look. You know, when it comes to projects, they're not all as involved as something like the Rat Roaster or the V8 Interceptor. Matter of fact, most of you have projects going out there on late model vehicles that are a lot simpler than that. So to demonstrate that, we've got a project going here called the Ridge Runner. And the whole idea behind this is to show you how to take a late model 4x4 and do a few things to it to make it more capable off-road without losing the drivability of it. So the first thing that went on is a 3.5-inch lift from Rusty's Off-Road, followed by 35-inch tall Mickey Thompson tires and wheels, and then big heavy-duty bumpers from ARB. And then, of course, we ran out of time. So today we're going to continue by putting on one of the most versatile tools that you can put on a 4x4, and that's a winch. So we made a trip down to Tennessee Speed Sport, picked up one of these Warren 8,000-pound electric winches. Now, as you can see, this is a nice, compact little winch, so it's going to fit great on the front of that Jeep, but it also packs a tremendous amount of power, easily enough to pull that Jeep or other vehicles out of sticky situations. Of course, it comes with all the hardware to bolt it in. Now, when you're hunting for a winch, don't just get the winch and not an accessory pack to go with it, because this has the tree strap and the chains and the gloves and the D-rings and the snatch blocks that you're going to need when you get into trouble. And it keeps it all in one nice little pouch, because when you need this, you're going to need this stuff too. Now, one of the downsides to putting all this stuff onto a Jeep is that it adds weight. And of course, your performance and your fuel economy can suffer because of that. So to help out in this area, we've done the standard tune-up stuff, swapped in synthetic fluids to reduce friction, put in some E3 spark plugs to get more fire into the cylinders, and upgraded our computer with this Hypertech Power Programmer. Now, it's time to deal with this restrictive air intake system. Now, you can tell just by looking that this stock air intake system is pretty restrictive. But when you start comparing it to something like this air raid system, man, the differences become really apparent. For example, take a look at these intake tubes. The stalker is all bent and crooked. The air raid system has a nice radius bend that's a whole lot bigger. This is going to flow a lot more air. Now, what about this filter? Well, that looks like something off of a vacuum cleaner. The air raid filter is reusable, so it pretty much will last forever, and it will flow more air and filter more particles than a stock filter ever dreamed of doing. Then, of course, the system comes with this metal box that separates the filter element from the heat of the engine, seals up to the hood, so you get a nice cool blast of air into your engine. The metal box slides right in place of the old plastic piece. Followed by the intake tube and the filter. But before we make the final connections to the throttle body, there's something else I want to do here. Now, of course, everybody would like to get a little better fuel economy, a little better performance out of their engine. So to help us do that, we're going to slide in one of these little aluminum spacers from Econoaid. Now, it goes right between the intake manifold and the throttle body, and it's supposed to give you better fuel atomization, which will result in a little better throttle response and a little better fuel economy. Now, since the introduction of the automobile, people have been coming out with all kinds of trinkets and gadgets that come with all kinds of claims of better fuel economy and stellar performance. And most of those products do absolutely nothing. And you know the products that I'm talking about. So, Econoaid decided that the only way to keep people from thinking that about this is that they had to make it affordable, and they had to sell it with a money-back guarantee if it didn't do exactly what they claimed it would do. So, since this show is about testing products to see what they can do, we're going to try it out. Because with those big tires, every little bit will help. Another thing we're going to do while we're under the hood here is replace all of our vacuum lines with these special hoses and ends from Hose Candy. Now check this out. This is a kit, as you can see, of quick disconnect ends and all kinds of fittings that allows you to connect vacuum hoses in just a matter of seconds, and then disconnect them just as quickly. The best part is, these won't leak and they won't come loose on you, which becomes more important the older the vehicle gets. This is a great way to add serviceability to an engine and a little bit of visual pop at the same time. Hey, welcome back to Gearz. You know, we've gone through a lot of stuff today, from the Rat Roaster to the Ridge Runner project, but we're not done yet. No, because one project that people are just going crazy over is the V8 Interceptor. Everybody wants to know what kind of a wheel and tire combination we're going to put on this thing. Is it going to be classic or is it going to be modern? And the answer is yes. So, to pull this off, we went to a place called Schott Performance Wheels, for the simple reason that the guys behind Schott Wheels have years of experience building custom wheels, and they have some of the coolest designs on the market. You got to check this out. Now, this is one of their styles called the Mod Sport. Now, if you look at this closely, this looks like a cross between a classic hot rod wheel with its square windows and something off of a modern Ferrari. Man, this has a totally unique, very cool look. The polish on the rim and the accents is absolutely show quality. And there are unique machined pockets to make the design even more interesting. The biggest thing, however, is the big spinner in the middle and the absence of lug nuts. But this is not a knockoff wheel. The lugs are there, they're just hidden under Schott's cover lock system that fits a precisely machined plate over the lugs. And with the cover lock in place, the fit is so good that only the sharpest eyes are going to be able to find the seam line. These are without a doubt some of the best built and best designed custom wheels on the market. Now, Schott builds its wheels in anything from a 17-inch diameter all the way up to a 22-inch diameter, and they'll build them up to 15 inches wide with whatever custom backspacing that you want, so you can get that perfect fit. Now, on this car, I'm using 17s because you got to be careful on a muscle car you don't get too big of a diameter. The car can look kind of goofy. So a 17 is a really nice combination between old and new. Now, for width, I'm using 8 inches on the front, 10 inches on the rear. Now, I've got an engine here that's kicking out close to 800 horsepower and a car that's got the potential to run 200 miles an hour. What kind of tires do you use? Simple, Goodyear. When it comes to ultra high performance rubber, the Goodyear Eagle F1 is a tire you need to take a look at. From the GT for all around use, to the asymmetric for dry weather and track use, to the all season for wet or dry performance, the Eagle F1 will run pretty much as fast as you want to go. Now, they also have a very unique tread compound and a sidewall design that makes this one of the best handling tires on the market for a performance car. Now, since the whole idea is to stick as much rubber under the Cougar as possible, we're using a 245/40 on the front and a 275/40 on the rear. Now, a 245 is a lot of rubber for the front of a Cougar or a Mustang. But as you can see, we have just enough room to clear the frame rails at full lock. And there it is. Man, what a wheel. What a stance. Now step back there. Take a look at this thing. Just absorb it a little bit. Just imagine what this thing's going to look like with fenders on it. Now, there's no doubt that with a car and an engine like that, we have got to have some more modern, accurate gauges. But we don't want to lose the original look and cool of the Cougar Dash. So we went to our buddies at West Coast Classic Cougar and picked up a used XR7 instrument cluster, because the XR7's already cut for 6 gauges and it's really cool looking. Now, as you can see, I've already stripped out all the old gauges and all the hardware, and I've opened up the holes here for our new gauges. Now check them out. What we're going to be using are these bomber gauges from Classic Instruments, except we're not going to use the bomber bezels because that doesn't really match the look of what we're doing. Now, the cool thing about Classic Instruments is that they will design your gauges to fit exactly what you're working on. So we had them do the speedometer and the tach in the bigger diameter. As you can see, the speedometer goes to 200 miles an hour, the tach goes to 10 grand, and of course the other gauges will just drop right in place. Now all we have to do is figure out what we're going to do with that fake wood grain look.
Quick tip. Brought to you by E3 Spark Plugs. Born to burn.
One of the most common tools that you're going to find in a shop is a floor jack, because we all have to have one to jack things up in the air. But a floor jack has the potential to do some damage. So we're going to show you some tips to keep that from happening. Now, first of all, if you want to protect a nicely detailed or painted undercarriage, take an old buffing wheel or buffing pad, just put it on the jack. The natural shape will hold it in place, and you'll have plenty of padding to protect your undercarriage. Now, a jack handle is notorious for getting up against your vehicle and damaging nice paint, and that will make you cuss. So, to keep that from happening, grab some old roll bar padding, slide it down over the handle, then if the handle does happen to get against the vehicle, no problem. The last thing, once you've jacked everything up and you're thinking about crawling underneath, remember there's about a 10-cent O-ring holding everything up, and those have been known to fail. So before you crawl underneath, make sure you're using some jack stands, or you might end up like this guy here. Now, if you want to learn some more tips to make your life easier in the shop, check out the tips page on the website.
And now, Parts Bin.
You know, most people realize that the success of a project is in the details, because that's what will make it stand out, or that's what will make it disappear into obscurity. Well, the guys at Clayton Machine Works have got the details down with their accessories. Take a look at these. They have very unique gas pedals with matching brake and clutch pads, and they have inserts of carbon fiber or black so you can customize these however you want. They have interior lights. They have air conditioning vents. They have newer style interior pulls. They've got older style interior pulls and door handles, whatever you need. Now, let's say you need some trim for the interior or the exterior of your vehicle. Look at this. They have big pieces and small pieces. Both of these can be drilled or tapped or polished, whatever you need for your application. But the best part is they can both be bent and shaped to follow the contour of the vehicle or your interior, whatever you're working on. And as you can see, the small piece, you can bend extremely tight without losing the shape of the trim. So, if you're ready to put the finishing touches on your project, 3 words can help you do that. Clayton Machine Works. You know, one of the things that goes with working on cars is lugging big, heavy parts around, from engines, transmissions, wheels, tires. It's all stuff we need, but lugging it around usually falls on your back. Wouldn't it be nice if you had your own personal pack mule to help you carry it? Well, you can with this new product called the Mule from Beyond Products. Now, what this is an electric lift that's got heavy-duty wheels on it and outriggers that will allow you to carry up to 350 pounds by yourself. No more lifting, no more grunting, no more trying to find an extra set of hands to help you lift something, just you and the mule. If you are tired of playing with dollies, you need to get yourself a mule from Beyond Products. One inevitable fact of off-roading is you will eventually get wet. And getting wet is cool as long as you don't go too deep and drown out your vehicle. Then you got a problem. And the best way to keep this from happening is to invest in a safari snorkel from Rusty's Off-Road. Now, this is a complete system that allows you to relocate your air intake from under the hood to above the driver's head. So you're literally going to drown yourself out before you drown out your engine. Now, of course, this kit comes with everything you need, including the cutting templates. So when you cut into that precious body of your Jeep, all the holes are going to be where they need to be, and everything's going to fit right. If you like to play in the water, you're eventually going to hit a hole and go too deep. A safari snorkel will help you drive right through it.
What are you working on? Brought to you by Miller Electric, the leading manufacturer of arc welding and cutting equipment for your business or home shop.
Today's What Are You Working On comes from Tim Knowles from Okeechobee, Florida, and his project is a 1970 Chevrolet Impala. Now, his story is very similar to a lot of gearheads out there. Said this was his first car, bought it in 1975, and he had it decked out. Then he got married, had children, car started going downhill. Now, he said that he was going to sell it, but his wife laminated the title so he couldn't sell it while he was upset. That is a great wife, Tim. Now, he said over the years, they drug it around 20 years until he finally started working on it. Now, here's a shot of Tim working on the car, fixing some of the rust that's happened over the years. You can see here's the firewall all smoothed out, car's starting to come back together. Now, the direction he's going is a 70s gasser. Now, take a look at the frame here. He's completely done that. Now, here's a shot of it all back together. You can see the car's got the nose in the air. This is Tim's era. This is the sort of car he wants to build. Now, he's going to put a 427 in it with a dual tunnel ram. He's putting a Saginaw 4-speed. Here's a shot of the transmission, V-gate shifter, chrome side pipes. He's going to call this thing the Reaper because he said it's come back from the dead. Now, he adds a little side note here. He even hauled moonshine with this thing back in the day. And I'm sure Tim probably didn't want me to say that on the air, but I did anyway. Now, one of the best things he says is that he bought his wife a 1970 Impala convertible, and they're going to start working on that. Tim, good move. She's definitely worth it. So, for both of you guys, wife and Tim, we're going to give you one of our brand new What Are You Working On t-shirts because you absolutely embody what Are You Working On is all about. Now, the rest of you guys, if you'd like to get one of these shirts, you can get it right off of the StaceyDavid.com website. And if you'd like to get your vehicle featured on What Are You Working On, you got to send some stuff into the website. We'll see if we can get it on the air. All right, I got a bunch of work to do on the Cougar. Can't wait to get the other fender on, see what that thing's going to look like. And you definitely have some stuff to work on. So we will see you next week.